Hi guys, while I have this set up here for you, I just wanted to come back to the tone hammer, not this pedal specifically, but more the EQ section of that, and just cover another area that is useful information to know. Some of it you probably won't come by in your normal bass gear, but that's the different levels of equalization that you can get. Now, the very, very basic level of this is a passive tone control that you'll find on any bass that has no actual active circuit in it. And this, all this does is cut off the high frequencies. You turn the knob down, you cut off those top frequencies, the bass sounds boomier. Very, very rarely, some very old basses, they actually had a bass cut as well. Now, why you'd want to cut the bass on the bass, I'm not sure, but it was something that some manufacturers decided was a good idea to include. But that's sort of the very basics of equalization. Now, the next section of equalization is more what I have on the Music Band Stingray here. I'm kind of in the wrong angle. And that's a 3-band EQ. Sometimes these will be just boost. This one specifically has cut and boost for treble, mid and bass frequencies. Now those frequencies are set and I can boost or I can cut them, but that's all the control that I have on those ones. So the next section up from that one, which the Angular Tone Hammer starts showing you but only on the mid levels, the mids controls tend to be the ones that get this on bass amplifiers. So on here I've got treble and bass cut and boost. A mid I've got cut and boost, but I've also got a control to select the frequency. Now this is, if you imagine the frequency spectrum from the bass levels to the trebles levels, there's a whole range of frequencies through that. The frequency selection means you can pick what frequency spot that control is boosting or cutting. Occasionally you'll find that on the bass and treble controls as well, and this is what's known as a semi-parametric EQ, which means you have control over the boost and cut, but you can also select what frequency you're boosting or cutting. So you have a little bit more control about where you're controlling your EQ. There is a fully parametric EQ that you will not tend to see on bass amps. There may possibly be some out there. This will be more into mixing desk sort of territory. And what this does is adds an extra layer to that. So you've got your boost and your cut, you've got your mid selection, but then you've also got a bandwidth controller. And this controls whether you're just boosting that one frequency that you've selected, or if you're boosting a range of frequencies centered around that frequency, and how wide that bandwidth is. So again, suddenly you've got more control over whether you're boosting a very specific area or cutting a very specific area, or if you want to boost or cut a range of frequencies around that area. So that's a fully parametric EQ. The final step up from that one is a graphic equalizer, and this you'll see on a lot of racks around mixing desks, studios, those sort of places. And this is a whole range of sliders along a rack that give you boost and cut capability on specific frequencies throughout the whole range. So these will be anywhere between sort of normally 6 frequencies up to maybe 20-30 different frequencies along the range of frequency points. Now on some bass amplifiers you will find this. There's some very modern ones that allow you this amount of tone tweaking, and there's actually some quite old ones. Early Trace Elliott amps had this on, and some of the Mesa Boogie stuff has this on. I personally don't like that amount of level of control on my amp. I like to keep it simple. I think having a lot of control over your tone is a good thing, but live it's a hassle. If you've got to set up and you've got to play quickly, then you want to be able to set up and play quickly. If you've got to sit there and select which frequency it needs boosting or cutting, then it's just a bit of a difficulty. That said, I think it is a useful tool that live sound desks should have, because that amount of control means that you can find any frequencies that are interfering with the surroundings. A room will tend to have a resonant frequency that you hit it, that's when you hear everything shaking around the room. Having that amount of tonal control means that the sound desk can cut that frequency down, which means that you'll have a much clearer tone across the whole band. It's been great. So over the course of the pedalboard series that I've done here, you can see that I've got a number of different tonal controls. Today I'm playing the Music Man Stingray, so I've got that 3-band EQ here, but I've actually got it all set flat, and I'll tend to keep it that way unless I need something specific. The passive basses I've only got that treble cut control, and that's more where the Sadowski comes in. With the Music Man, I wouldn't tend to use this one very much in terms of EQing. It still adds a nice little something to the sound just running it flat, but I control the EQ from here. With the passive basses, this allows me to give that little bit of boost to the treble or bass frequencies to add something to the tone. The main tonal controls I'll be using from either my amp or the tone hammer pedal, and that has the most powerful EQ on it, which is the right way to be, and that'll give the sort of final tone touches to the tone that's come through the pedal board. So that's kind of a very brief overview of everything I'm using on the floor here. I'm not really going to go too much into depth into my amp settings, because it is pretty much as per the tone hammer pedal here, and there's no point repeating that too much, but hopefully that gives you a good overview of everything and some food for thought for setting up your own gear.